Assalamu alaikum everybody, I pray that you're all well and in the best of health. This is your brother Sam and a very warm welcome back to the Sam of Somalia channel. So every Friday we're going to be doing like a little family type video, like I'm going to kind of sit with you and we're just going to talk about something to do with being a young dad or being a young husband or something generally about family, or give advices to the sisters out there perhaps, or advices to people who want to get married and stuff like that. That's kind of the thing that we're going to be doing on Fridays. And obviously the language learning stuff will probably tie into that. We'll talk about raising children, bilingual and multilingual and stuff like that too. So last week we had a little talk about about your expectations for being a soon-to-be dad, right? Like managing your emotions and what that means for a man, and what you should expect of yourself, and not to judge yourself was the main point. But this week I want to talk to you about being grateful for your spouse. About being really grateful for what you've got. And I want to start by giving you kind of I don't know if it's a parable or an analogy or a metaphor, or if it's all of them, but hear me out. So you've got a garden, okay? I'm speaking to the brothers now. Allah's given you a garden. And you go outside and the garden doesn't look that green to you. And gardens that are next door, they might look greener than your garden. The grass might look greener on the other side. But you probably can't see that. You probably can't see it because there's a fence, right? So you shouldn't even be looking at somebody else's garden. But even if you do have an inclination or a temptation to look at somebody else's garden or look at another garden, then it's best if there's a fence there, so you can't even look at the garden. Hope you get my point. Okay? There's this expression that we have in English, which is the grass is always greener on the other side. So if you have a spouse, you have the blessing of having a spouse. People often always think that if things get difficult in their marriage, they think, oh, like another woman wouldn't have given me these troubles, or if I'd chosen to marry that other person, they wouldn't have given me these problems, or even for some brothers, if the opportunity arises for them to have a second or a third or a fourth wife, they think, this wife will make things better for me. This wife will improve things for me, and it might do in that case. So sometimes it might do, and sometimes it is right for some people. But the essential message behind this is, if you have a garden that isn't green, the point is that the grass isn't necessarily greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it. That's a little phrase that I heard recently, the grass isn't greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it. And, that's the point for our marriages, right? Like the grass will be greener, your garden will be greener, I promise you, but you need to water it. Yeah, the only reason why, I don't know why another garden would look greener would be because you're not looking at it closely enough. Yeah, like with your spouse, you're living together and stuff, and you're looking very closely at your grass, and you're spotting that the grass is not particularly green in these places. Yeah, so it's all about being grateful, right? It's about being grateful for the grass that we have, or the partner that we have, and your marriage is like that. It needs to be nurtured, it needs to be watered, and that's how you end up with like a truly green garden, or a truly happy family, or a truly happy marriage. Like Allah tells us in the Quran as well that He doesn't burden a soul in ways or to an extent that it can't bear. Allah has chosen your challenges specially for you. Like if you have a lot of difficulties, so sometimes I think about this, like I'm really grateful for what I have, alhamdulillah. Like I'm not complaining at all, but there are some, like a lot of you guys know, my wife's in hospital at the moment, and she's going to be in there for like another 10 weeks or something. So, like shaitan could easily come to me and say, like if you'd married someone else, you wouldn't have that problem, or whatever, right? But I take great happiness in that Allah has given me a challenge. Allah's given me a difficulty, because it obviously means He believes I can cope with it. It's why that way we look at our brothers and sisters who are oppressed in other countries, and they must be incredible people. They must be people who Allah loves. Like Allah's given them a chance to show Him that they have such iman, that they're so good, right? Like literally Allah has chosen perfectly your challenges for you. He's literally chosen your spouse as a perfect means to Jannah for you. So we need to appreciate that. We need to appreciate that. That it hasn't come by accident. Allah hasn't brought you about this spouse by accident. Allah didn't give you this marriage by accident. It has the perfect challenges in it for you. There's I don't know where I heard it from, but I heard that there's a proverb, like it might be like a Australian Aboriginal proverb or something, that like if all of mankind were to come and put their problems into a pile, then everybody would rather take their own away than a share of the common stock. So like Like you can imagine that, right? Like all the people come and they put their problems there, but why is that? Like it's because they're yours. It's because those problems are yours and they're perfect for you, right? Like your wife, she might have some mistakes, right? As do you, yeah. You'll have some mistakes, okay, but they're yours, right? They're the ones that you're familiar with and that you can deal with, because Allah hasn't burdened your soul with more than it can bear. Just to go back before we end this video, just to go back to what I said about the fence. Brothers, like the first thing is you need to lower your gaze anyway, right? Like when you're married, that is the only woman that is an attractive woman for you in your world. That is the only woman who deserves your attention and your eyes. Do you know what I mean? So even if there's not a fence next to your garden to stop you looking at the other garden, even if there's not one, you shouldn't be looking at that garden. A lot of people walking around, they're not modest, yeah? Brothers and sisters aren't modest. They're not lowering their gaze. Sisters aren't dressing in accordance with hijab. Yeah, so when that is the case, you need to lower your gaze and look at your own garden. Yeah, and then the sisters can obviously make it easier for us, obviously, if they dress and behave in accordance with hijab as well. But even if they don't, I'm saying the responsibility is on the brothers as well, right? The sisters can make it easier for us, but the responsibility is on the brothers. So lower your gaze, brothers. That's the first thing, right? The first thing before any of this, the first thing is lower your gaze. Yeah, and then we won't even consider if the grass is greener on the other side. We won't even consider if there were better things that we could have chosen. Right, saying if this and if that is a door for shaitan to come into your marriage. So we don't say if this happened or if that happened or if we did this then I'd be happier. So we'll end on that, inshallah. Brothers, lower your gaze. Be grateful for what you have. Know that Allah has tailored your problems and your challenges specifically for you to prove how good you are. I'll catch you guys in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, before you go, don't forget to like and share it. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Put a comment in. And also, if you have any other questions or you have any other things to do with marriage, family, having kids, dealing with in-laws, dealing with your own family when you get married and stuff, shoot me an email as well if you don't want to put it public in the comments. Shoot me an email, samofsomalia@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Take it easy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.